Hi, and welcome to Earth Science. This is the recording for Lesson 11, Climate Regions. We will be continuing our in-class activity on that we started with Lesson 10. So these are the notes that you can take for Lesson 11. So you should read the online lesson and use a graphic organizer or whatever way you would like to take notes on this particular lesson. These are the objectives that we've been covering throughout the unit. These are the goals for today. What are the different climatic regions and their characteristics? So when we look at climate regions, we need to take into consideration several factors. One is the latitude at which they are located. Are they close to the equator? Are they far away from the equator? Altitude, are they at sea level or are they above sea level? How close are they to a body of water, whether it's a large lake, a large ocean, a bay? All of those things come into consideration. And also another factor in determining climatic regions would be ocean currents. So when we look at different climatic regions, okay, what scientists have done is they started at different points of latitude. So about 66 degrees north would be the polar zone. Between 23 and 66 would be temperate. Between the equator and 23 degrees would be tropical. And then it repeats as you go south of the equator. Now, we talked about ocean currents also affecting climate zones. So what you're seeing here on the map is in red would be the warm currents and in blue would be the cool currents. And you can see that if the current is warm, an area will have a different type of climate. And remember when we talked about convection, that warm will push cool out of the way. So that's why we're seeing some circular motion. And because this map is flat, we don't see all of the circular motion, okay? But if we were to be looking at this as a globe, you would see that it is much more circular. So looking at the different currents helps kind of determine what type of climate you would get in a particular area. Some areas are a little bit warmer than others, and some get cooler. So if the water is warmer, you're going to get some warmer climate, okay? And that also depends, you got to take that into consideration where the region is located as well. I mean, if you're in a polar zone, even though that there's warmer water coming in, it's not going to be hot because you're so far away from the equator. However, if you are getting some warmer water, that will help with increasing some of the temperatures. The temperatures aren't going to be hot by any stretch, but the temperatures will change. They won't always stay so freezing cold. So when we look at different climate zones, when we talk about climate zones, within that zone, it'll be the same type of climate, okay? And they're usually at the same latitude or similar. Koppen came up with this whole classification system, and the way that he did this classification was based on average temperature, average amount of precipitation, okay? Then he also looked at the times of year when the precipitation occurs, and climate zones can determine the type of vegetation and animal life that is in that particular area. So for example, if we're looking at the desert, we know that there aren't going to be a lot of plants there, okay? If we're looking at a tropical area, we know that the plant life will be abundant. Also in the lesson, they talk about biomes, okay? So biomes take into account the type of climate, the type of plants, and the type of animals in that particular area. So when we look at climatic zones, polar climates are very cold and dry all year. Temperate zones, cold winters, mild summers. Arid, dry and hot all year. Tropical, hot and wet all year. Then we have Mediterranean. They have mild winters and dry hot summers. And mountains are very cold all year. So, as a review, a biome is a climate zone. And when we talk about biomes, biomes include plants and animals. Climate zones only look at temperature and humidity, or the average temperature and the average amount of precipitation. Biomes take into consideration the three parts: plants, animals, and climates. Microclimates are where, if you're in a climatic zone and there's an area within that climate zone that might be just a little bit different, okay? We call that a microclimate, and that area might have different climate conditions than the whole climate zone. So those are considered microclimates. If you do have questions about this particular lesson, please make sure that you see me during office hours or study hall. And your assignments, don't forget, are located on in Canvas, along with those due dates. And we will be continuing our in-class project that we started with Lesson 10. Thanks so much.